Okay, so let me just do a new to save. I've already saved this work. Okay, so we'll go from RhinoCam on the menu. From the mill, just pick Art to switch to the Art browser. So there's two main tabs. You have Relief Operations and then Raster to Vector. Now, let me go into the File Explorer here. Okay, I see you got different files in here, like images, right?
Yep.
Let me double click on it to see what they are. Okay, so we got this one here. This right here. Okay, so there's three images, right?
Correct.
Okay. So are we looking to take one of this and convert it into like a raster to vector, or what is it that you'd like to accomplish with this?
If we use the I just busted my knee. So yeah, raster to vector, and then trying to figure out just so this one is already. This is a just for this to try to see how to take a grayscale and set it up for machining.
Okay.
This file.
Okay. So we'll have to convert this to either a JPEG or a GIF or a bitmap. So what I'm going to do here is JPEG, we can read it. We can read, we'll just go back in here and just rename the extension here. Hopefully that should do it. We'll rename it to JPEG here. Okay. All right, so let's go into the art module. Now in Rhino, there's a way you can also put a picture in as a bitmap, as a background as well. But let's focus on how we can do it in the art. So we first define in the relief tab, we define the extents of the project. So we can pick origin and extents, and we can specify a size for it. So I'm going to start at the origin, and I can specify my extents for the project. So it can be like a 4x4, for example, right? And then I specify the resolution for it, and then I'll pick generate. So this basically creates like a work area, or you could call it a canvas where you put your work on top of it.
Right.
So I could even define a rectangle. I could have snapped to that as well for my work area. So the next step is basically I would go in and choose to create a 3D relief, and then I'll go in to locate that image file. So we have these right here. I'm going to select this and then pick open. And this basically is converting to a 3D relief. That's your original image, and then it's in grayscale, it's in black and white, and you can adjust the threshold. So the lighter the colors you have, the more height you're going to get on a relief. The darker it gets, it's going to reduce the height. That's a typical how the relief conversion works. And you can choose whether you want to add to this. We want to add it to the existing sheet that we've defined. And then we can specify to use either the image size, or we can specify a size in here. I can pick a size, and I can just go snap to, let's say, this is the area I would like to put it into. I'm just keeping it shy of a quarter inch from the edge. I can specify the maximum height for the relief, and I add any smoothing factor in here. And then I pick generate. So in this process, it does what is called a 3D relief. If you look at the entire project and go to the shaded view here, it creates a 3D relief. So the lighter the colors, the more height you're going to get. The darker it gets, it's going to reduce the height.
Okay.
Now this is what we did. We just said add, so it's adding to the base sheet. The base sheet has no thickness to it. So once you have this created, you can select the project, hit export as CAD, export meshes to CAD, so it becomes a Rhino mesh, which is basically like an STL file in Rhino.
Okay.
So now that's been exported, which is now ready for programming. So we can switch from the mill and art the mill module. We can define our stock in here. I can give it a stock thickness. I could have saved the operations I programmed on the file into a knowledge base. Using save to knowledge base, I can load the operations, or I could just program it in here do a 3-axis roughing path. If I wanted to contain it, I can select a region. I can specify my cutting parameters, and then generate.
Okay.
So it's creating a roughing path, and then you can go ahead and add a finishing path to it, like a parallel finishing. I could specify the tool, specify the cutting parameters, generate. And then we can run a simulation. So there's our roughing operation and the finishing. So just to give you a quick workflow of how we can use the art. There's several different ways operations you can do in art, like you can do puffed volumes, swept volumes by selecting curves. And then if you want to go back and clean up these bitangencies in here, we have what's called pencil tracing. That's available in our Pro configuration. It automatically identifies these bitangencies on the part and creates a path to go clean it up. As you can see here, it creates a toolpath based on the bitangencies of the model to go back and clean it out. So it'll eliminate all of these scalloping that you're seeing right here.
Right.
So that's called pencil tracing.
Okay.
So that's one of the options available in the art module, is basically doing a relief operation. You could do a add, subtract, intersection. You can also take curves. For example, if you wanted to do raster to vector, you can use curve from images. I can pick this object in here. I can convert it to black and white, or I can invert the colors.
Okay.
You can also adjust the threshold in here. You can see based on the threshold what you said, what are the features it's going to extract, right?
All right.
So this is basically mapping it to the closest pixel based on the resolution that you put in. And then I can go to vector edits. I can specify a size for it. Again, I can snap to like these 2 points right here. And then I can set a resolution. And then pick generate. So in this process, it's going to create those curves. Let me hide this in here so it makes it better, easier to see it. So that was a raster to vector I did operation by using those curves, right? So based on the, what's visible in here, it creates them, and you can also adjust the smoothness. So if you don't want to smooth it out, you can pick generate. You can see it's going to be looking much coarser. It's basically mapping it to the closest cell in the, resolution that you put in. Its resolution is more like a grid. So if I change this to 250 and generate it, it's going to probably give you a much better result. And then I can always do a smoothing it out by doing a arc fitting in here, smoothing it out, and then you can also add arc fitting to it. Now, once these are created, you can always export them as curves to RhinoCAD. So now these are curved, and you can take these and edit it in Rhino. You can also rebuild them. So that's the advantage of working within Rhino, is you can recreate some of these or modify them as you need to.
Okay.